Welcome back to my series on how to make latte art. Today we're having a look at extracting espressos and how to extract the perfect espresso for our latte art that has a nice crema on it and will make it easy for us to pour the latte art. So with the espressos there are three main factors that influence them and that have an influence on how the crema will work out. So first of all we have the grind size that we're using. Secondly we have how much, like the amount of coffee we're using, the dosage. And thirdly, we have the tamping pressure. Now, we'll have a look at all three of these and how they influence our espresso. You can adjust the grind size of the coffee in two ways. You can either make it finer or you can make it coarser. So, when you make it finer, surprise, surprise, the coffee will flow through slower. And when you make it coarser, obviously the coffee will flow through faster because the particles of the coffee are a bit bigger and there are more gaps between the coffee and the water will flow through faster and just get out faster. Now, what we want to achieve with our coffee or with our espresso shot is we want it to flow through between 28 to 32 seconds. Some people say between 20 to 30 seconds, depending on the coffee that you're using, I suppose. And when it flows through in that kind of time frame, you'll get a good amount of crema and you'll also get a great tasting espresso. So when you start out playing around with your grind size, make sure that all the other settings on your coffee equipment, the amount of coffee that you're using and the tamping pressure remain the same. And then you can just vary the grind size and see what happens. Obviously, just take a clock, and time your espresso shots and play around with the grind size and see what kind of grind size will get you to that time frame of 28 to 32 seconds. The next key variable that we're looking at when making espressos is the dosage of the coffee. So the amount of coffee that we're using for our espresso shots. Most people use somewhere between 18 grams to 21 grams for a double shot of coffee. And, well, that can depend on, your grind size or whatever, or the recipe that you're using. And you should really find out what kind of volume you want to use for yourself. Now, as I said about the grind size, you want your coffee to flow through between 28 to 32 seconds. And therefore, you want it to adjust to a volume that makes that possible. Once you've found that volume that is right for you, you don't want to vary too much from it. Like every single shot should be within 0.1 grams of your perfect volume. So to achieve that, it'd be best to have a kitchen scale next to your grinder or espresso machine where you can weigh off every single shot to make sure that each shot has the right amount of coffee in it. And depending on how many coffees you make or how often or where you work, like if you work in a cafe and you need to make heaps and heaps of coffees, you may not have the time or may not want to weigh off every single coffee. So one thing you can do is, set all your settings in a way that the coffee that you use is level off with the filter basket here. And so if you level it off here, you may have somewhere between 18 to 21 grams or whatever weight is perfect for you. And when you have this perfect amount here, and it's leveled off and it's giving you your perfect shot, then you know that every time you grind your coffee the same way and pour the same amount of coffee in here to level it off, then you get your perfect espresso shot. I used to do that when working, or I still do it when working in a cafe, because I can just, get my coffee in, then kind of level it off, and then I know that I have the perfect amount of coffee for what I'm doing, and then I can just tamp it, pop it in the machine, let it run through, and know that even though I didn't spend too much time on weighing the coffee, I'll still get a great shot out of it. That said, if you work in a cafe, it's still best to adjust the grinder every morning to the right grind size and make sure that you have a volume or weight of coffee that serves your purpose, I suppose. So that is the dosage of the coffee that we're using. And next on, we look at the tamping pressure. Tamping seems like an easy enough thing to do, but there are still a few things that can go wrong when you're tamping your coffee. So we're having a look at just the right technique, and a few common mistakes that can be made when you're tamping. So we obviously want to tamp our coffee grinds in the filter head, so we condense them and make it harder for the water to run through. And to do that, we'll come right from above. So best thing to do is, if you have your filter basket there, or your group head, that you come right from the top and press down evenly. So, and you also want to hold it kind of like this to make sure you're not like wobbling off, So we hold it quite nice and steady, so we can apply the same pressure to every area of our group head. And then what you want to avoid is, you don't want to go like this, because it can be easy to then apply more pressure on this side or more pressure on the back side, and that will condense the coffee on one side of the group head and result in an uneven flow of coffee through your filter head, and that will just get you an inferior result, I would say. So really make sure that you're coming right from the top, that you're holding your tamper nice and even, and then go down right like that. And a lot of people then twist the tamper around. I actually do it most of the time myself, but I've been told by someone, and where I went to a coffee school, that you shouldn't do it, but I also see professionals do it, so I don't know whether that's right or wrong, but have a look at it and see whether you can actually avoid it, or whether you should avoid it or not. But one thing that is really that actually is a crucial mistake is right after you've tamped it, you see some people just like hitting the group head with a tamper like that I don't know why they're doing it, but what that really does is it can crack, or like produce little cracks in the coffee that you've already tamped in there, and then the water will run through these cracks, and that can easily result in channeling in your coffee, and that also will produce an inferior result. So once you've tamped, you don't want to go in and then tamp like 5 more times, and you also don't want to like start hitting your group head with your tamper for whatever reason. So these are the things to look at, and also the things that you may want to avoid when it comes to tamping your coffee. So lastly, I have a little tip for you what you can do when your crema isn't perfect, when it hasn't come out the way you wanted it to be. And this might be like, let's say it's lumpy, so you would have like an uneven surface, like the crema is a bit thick on one side and not as thick on the other side. Or let's assume you've used coffee that has just been freshly roasted, and you get this much crema on top of your coffee and you don't know what to do with it. You can't really pour any latte art. So there's a little trick to work around that, and this might not be great for for a latte art purpose if you're professional. But if you just want to practice and still use that coffee to practice with, you can swirl the glass around a little bit. Let's assume you can do the same thing as if you were wine tasting, for example. When you pour your wine in your glass and you swirl it around, that's something you can do with your coffee as well. And what it does, it evens out your crema, and that will make it easier to pour a latte art on it. So let's have a look at how to fix your crema.